Hello, it's Steve-O, and welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if you're here for the first time. This is Steve-O Vlogs, and I'm going to be doing that. I will try to keep this as short as I can, but as pedantic and long-winded as I am, that can be kind of difficult. It's kind of windy out here, so I hope it doesn't come through. I'm just going to try and talk through it and hope that it doesn't bleed over after editing, because I would hate to have to redo this all over again. But before I get into all of that, welcome. I hope everything is going well with you and that you are taking care of yourselves and the ones that you love, and I've been praying for you. Happy Monday, or, well, that's as I'm filming this. If you're watching it someday in the future, happy whatever day that is. So while I try not to be pedantic and long-winded, I'm going to start this with a definition. I'm going to get out my handy-dandy phone to help me with this, because it's a term. I'll probably put it up somewhere. But, in fact, I'm probably going to title the video this, so there it is. I've always colloquially and in English, or as American as I like to say, have said the term Zugzwang, but in actual German it's Zugzwang. I hope I said that correct to all my German speakers out there. If not, I apologize. But yeah, I'll just give a quick preface to that. It's a chess term for, and again, this is in my own words, in essence, when you have two options to do something, and no matter what, it's a bad choice. I used to laugh and say something different in nerd language, because I speak, I won't say fluent nerd, but I speak the language a bit, and we used to call it the ogre's choice. Meaning the ogre's choice is you're sitting in front of this ogre, and he's gonna either say, I'm gonna smash you with this hand, or I'm gonna smash you with this hand. And that's the ogre's choice, and that's a Zugzwang, or a Zugzwang, which means either way you lose, but you get to pick. So that's that definition. Had to make sure the camera was still on because it's been turning off on me. I apologize. My big thing here is trying to keep this vlog contained. I tend to prattle on, and what I'm getting it at is I've been out here 3 times over the past couple weeks and attempted to do something sort of like this, but on parallel subjects, and I would end up being a kind of crying mess and then end up on tangents and get lost. So I'm trying to be more focused. I'm very frustrated because the GoPro keeps turning off and I have to restart, which sucks. But when the spirit overtakes me with that conviction, it's a lot, depending on the subject, because of what I have done and how I've lived my life. And I'm not trying, I would like to come out here and be more coherent and avoid that. And it's not that I mind it, I just don't make these videos for me to appeal to some kind of emotion or to show me crying or to do that. I would rather avoid it and focus on what my message is. But it's very hard, because if I don't stay focused and keep my conversation narrow, it's hard to avoid that. But at the same time, sometimes what I'm explaining may not make sense to what I call normal people, who have lived normal lives without some of this context. So, and in essence, for most people, if I were to say to them, I love my dad and I forgive him, they would say, that's cool, we do that every other week. But for me, it's a little bit different. Without the context of it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And the depth of that doesn't make sense, but also I want to avoid going there unnecessarily. The other thing in conjunction with that is my daughters just went home yesterday. And generally speaking, and I say this in a couple videos, but I'm not, it's my emotional low point, because at this point I had my daughters for 2 weeks. I'm in that mind frame, and now all of a sudden they're gone. I drop them off at their mom's and I come home to just me and nothing and silence. And it stinks. And for the first week of the 2 weeks that they're at their mom's, I generally leave them to settle, you know, be there with their mom, do that, get settled back in, and then the second week that they are at their mom's is when I'll usually try and insert myself and ask them. But granted, that first week, they're even pretty good at messaging me. I leave that open to them to see if they want to, and they do semi-frequently, which is nice. And because of our relationship, we don't tell each other no to the kids. So it's a very nice situation to be in, but it's very frustrating because I'm going to be alone and isolated for about anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. And that sucks, especially going from one extreme of immersed in my kids every day to that. And now I'm gonna have to stop the video because I think they're doing garbage back there and you're gonna hear some bangs, so I'm gonna wait and carry on to the next point after that. Good timing, I suppose. So hopefully that didn't seem too long for you, or at least as long as it did for me, because I have a lot on my mind. And in that, one of the things I want to hopefully touch on briefly is, one of the things is, in the absence of my daughters, I don't have a routine or a schedule, and obviously I'm alone and isolated, so I'm always looking for things to fill my time with. However, there's a big asterisk there, because the caveat is I'm not just looking to do something, meaning I could play video games to waste time. I could I'm just gonna leave that at this point. I could do my chores and stuff around the house to utilize my time, which I do, but I'm looking for ways to get closer to God. And I read the Bible and I do what I can. I just have no routine or schedule. So aside from praying and reading the Bible, I can't right now do anything with anyone to get closer to God, which frustrates me. I don't have that. And many people I know who, I don't want anyone to take this personally, but if I know you, and it's not that I don't consider you a friend, and it's that a lot of you are not equipped to deal and handle this and talk about this stuff. And I don't hold that against people when I say, and to me, I hope this means a lot, or puts a little clarity on something, because I tell this to my daughter and it seems to work. I get frustrated, but not frustrated at you. And that, to me, that's a big difference, because I can understand that there's a cat running over there, black and white cat, but if I approach someone and they're frustrated but nothing to do with me, and similarly I hope they understand that when it's on to you guys. I'm frustrated at being lonely and isolated, but I don't put that on anybody, and I hope that doesn't come off that way. I hope there's no guilt, or it doesn't seem like I'm putting that on people, because I understand it. If I could maybe say it like this, I'm frustrated that it's a 1 in 1,000 chance that I'm going to find someone who wants to be around me like that. But I've met thousands of people, so you'd think in there, maybe, I don't know, is where I get frustrated. So I'm gonna take a moment, collect myself, and then move on to the next point. Before I go on to my interest, it's I think an interesting analogy, at least it's very personal, and you'll see why. I'm struggling with the concept of, am I too late? Did I try to collect myself and walk to Jesus and walk with Jesus and be saved too late? And I want to be clear about something, because I don't mean that in terms of salvation and the afterlife. That, to me, is my consolation, is what's going to happen then. My frustration is, so maybe more directly stated, is I do sometimes believe I'm too late to be reconciled with this world, meaning I don't think I'm going to, as I talked to earlier, have a social group. I don't think I'm gonna have a friend or friends like I was talking about, that person who would be here with me talking out in the woods, wanting to be around me or whatever. So I don't think I'm going to, again, this is not something that I want, but talking about things, get financially rich. I don't think I'm ever going to get married. I think my kids are eventually going to distance themselves from me, and hopefully only in what is normal, but I don't know that. And I struggle with that, because I know I cannot do any of those things for myself. I don't expect them to happen, but I know God can make them happen, and that I'm trusting in God to navigate that. When I say trust in God, I don't mean trust in God to now make those things happen to me. To trust in God that if those things are not going to happen to me, it's for the better, because I may let myself go into financial ruin, or let the money go to my head, or ruin another relationship, or get into situations where Sorry, I thought it turned off again. The old me comes out, or I realize, wow, I haven't changed as much as I thought, and now I ruined something else. Sorry, I thought I heard something behind me. But again, I don't care at the same time because I'm putting it in God's hands. And so I'm trying to, as I said, and I think in another one of those videos I deleted, I want to walk on God's path, and whatever God gives me is a blessing. If God gives me a friend, money, opportunity, whatever these, again, God could bless me with a million things and more that I can't even fathom. And I want to do it on God's path, meaning I don't want to say, here I am on God's path walking with you, ooh, but there's a thing I want over there, so let's just stray a little bit, and then, you know, walking, and, you know, oh, you know, well, I'm still really close to God and doing really good, so move a little bit off the path a little bit more, and you know, so then, oh, you know, still, but I'm really close to God's path, right? I can literally see it, and then all of a sudden you're off and you're not seeing the path anymore, and I don't want to do that, and I don't want to do that to anybody else. Again, that's always my biggest concern is, I understand I will make mistakes as a Christian, and hopefully I can use those to progress, not regress, but I don't want to hurt anyone else in the process. The analogy I'm going to use hit me today when I was eating breakfast, and I was just thinking about the concept of being too corrupted to be salvaged, being too broken to be making into anything usable again, meaning if you break a cup enough times and put it back together, it's still going to have all cracks, holes, and things where you'll notice it's a cup, but you see these holes, all of us, you know, where all those things are. I had surgery on my ankle when I was in the Marine Corps. I'm not going to go into all of it, but what ended up happening, for a little bit of context, is I deployed, but I had fractured my ankle before my deployment. I hid it because if they knew it was fractured, they would not have let me deploy, so I hid it, meaning I was running PFTs, PTing, doing everything on a fractured ankle, deployed on a fractured ankle, came back, and then let them know about it. So I had been abusing it for a while. When it got time to surgery, another story for another day about an Ohio State doctor. I want to keep these short, like I say. Maybe I'll add, no, I'm not going to add it, but long story short, they were going to, if you could, I don't know, picture an onion or any kind of ball or something like that, or, you know, a bowling ball, whatever, what was my ankle. And what they were going to do is, what happened is I fractured that bone, but because I had stayed on it, I kept kind of refracturing it, so it was fractured over, and it was just it was a gross mess. And again, in my own terms, because I'm not a foot doctorologist, they said what we're going to do is go in and drill in and drill out all the bad stuff, take it all out, good, which is good. Then in I think one or two places, but one place specifically, they're going to drill into the healthy bone, which is good because it will promote bleeding, which is healing, you know, all that. So get it going on all that, not just leave a big crater that doesn't do anything. So they put me under, I wake up. Doctor's kind of looking at me, and I know something's wrong, and that cat's over there and looking at me now. But he's going away, and I was going to try and record him. But again, in my own words, he said, so the plan was to go and drill in and get that healthy bone, get into that healthy bone, tap it. Well, what happened is we went in there and we drilled away the bone, the bad stuff. We drilled away the bad and deformed stuff. We drilled away the bad and deformed stuff. Then we drilled away, and what happened was we didn't get into any healthy bone. So we had an option where we either left it at that, or we would have to keep going. But if we kept going, your ankle would lose its structure and collapse on itself because you'd have to drill away so much. So I was in that, well, I guess at that moment I was unconscious, and they were in that Zugzwang of, do we risk collapsing this guy's bone or hope that what we've done allows it to heal? But that's not even good, because it's just going to heal around, so it's going to have your good bone, a little bit of deformed bone, and then it's going to fill a gap with healthy bone. And that's what they went with. And I I'm kind of looking at myself in that situation where it's, I don't think, like I say, only God has that power to remove that from me. I know I can't, and that is very tough to navigate. The last thing I do want to talk about is faith, and I'm going to be short because I touch on this pretty frequently, but I also feel odd because I don't have faith like you normal people, meaning I assume faith means you do something because you think you know what will happen. You think you know the outcome, you're comfortable with it, you researched it, whatever. And correct me if I'm wrong down below. But I look at faith as, this is what's weird, and I feel bad saying this. I don't trust God because I don't trust anybody, because I don't trust, meaning the way I was raised was completely conditional. So, how will I say this? My concept of trust is I'm only going to trust you if I 100% know what I'm going to get out of it, and it's what I want. I don't have what I don't like this, but I don't say blind trust because I don't even think that's good. But the way I express my trust is different, because if I don't trust you, I'm saying this, I do not trust you. I'm sorry, whoever you are, I don't trust you. So the way I express at my desire to trust you is to give you something in spite of my lack of trust in you, which it feels very awkward to me and I hate it. It feels very counterintuitive. But my point is, if I think in my brain I should trust you and I know I don't, but my way to express that is to say, well, I want to tell you this thing even though I don't trust you, and I feel very bad, I'm going to trust you with it. I'm going to ask something of you, or something, meaning, again, I don't know if any of that's making sense semantically, because I guess that's just one form of faith. But I feel bad because my faith, in my expression of faith, is built on a complete lack of trust. And I think in my brain that it should be the opposite, meaning I should trust someone because I have faith in them, and I can have faith in them because I trust them. I don't know. That's where my brain goes. That's where I'm at. So I'm going to end this video here. Let me know your thoughts, how you're doing below if you actually made it here, and maybe some of your thoughts on my thoughts. I hope everything's still going well with you, that you're taking care of yourselves and the ones you love, and I'll be praying for you. God bless. And girls, if you ever chance upon this video, I love all three of you, and I love you, whoever's watching this, the most.